much for joining us, and we must begin this evening with Puerto Rico, where more than 3 million American citizens continue to cope with the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. The president's response has been widely criticised all week, and it still doesn't seem entirely clear that he understands the gravity of the situation.
The loss of life, it's always tragic, but it's been incredible, the results that we've had with respect to loss of life. People can't believe how successful that has been, relatively speaking.
How are you even trying to take a victory lap right now? The only way he could have saved that statement is if he added, and don't forget, I just kind of ramble. I know nothing. I talk because silence sounds weird. Try and think of me as a parrot who's memorised some human sounds. Yabba dabba doo, Jumanji, bye-bye. And look, getting aid to a disaster zone is a huge challenge, but Trump's rosy assessment of success has been disputed by many on the ground, like San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz, who went on TV to plead for more aid and got a depressingly predictable response from the president.
The president up early this morning and tweeting about Puerto Rico.
Such poor leadership ability by the mayor of San Juan and others in Puerto Rico who are not able to get their workers to help. They want everything to be done for them when it should be a community effort.
Really? Really? The primary obstacle to hurricane relief has been Puerto Rican laziness? You have got to hand it to Trump. Anybody can say horribly racist things about Hispanic people on a golden escalator, but it takes real balls to do it while their fellow citizens are dying. Trump is basically saying when hurricanes hit our people, they're not hitting our best. They're killing poors, they're killing lazies, and some, I assume, have said nice things about me. And the thing is, this debacle came at the end of a week of embarrassments for Trump's administration, from the resignation of Tom Price to the failure of the Graham Cassidy healthcare bill in the Senate, although to hear Trump tell it, there is a good excuse for that.
We have one senator that's in the hospital. He can't vote because he's in the hospital. He can't vote because he's in the hospital. I'm almost certain we have the votes. But with one man in the hospital, we cannot display that we have them. We can't do it now because we have somebody in a hospital.
Sir, who's in the hospital? What senator are you referring to?
In other words, he can't come here and vote because he's in the hospital.
Who is in the hospital, sir?
You probably didn't hear me because, as you know, one of our yes votes is in the hospital. I can't take him out of the hospital.
Now, to be fair to the president, he couldn't take that senator out of the hospital because, and this will not surprise you, there was no senator in the hospital. People thought that he may have been thinking of Senator Thad Cochran, who was out for medical reasons, but who tweeted, "Thanks for the well wishes, I'm not hospitalised." And Cochran's staff even released a statement saying he was recuperating from a urological issue. So the president's lies essentially became so frustrating, the only way to shut them down was to publicly discuss the fact that something may be wrong with Thad Cochran's dick. And just think about what happened there. The president just repeatedly said something that was not true, that was wrong. We just caught him in a lie. In other words, and I have waited a long time to do this, we got him. We got him. He's still president. I just found out he's still president. We didn't get him. I'm sorry. I thought the Cochrane thing would do it too. Thanks for coming in. I'm sorry. He's great. So, I'm sorry, guys. That was great, though. But thanks very much. He is still president, so we didn't get him. I know. I thought we got him. I thought he was finished. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. I thought the senator wasn't in the hospital. So. OK, I guess we've just got to carry on with the show now, so let's move on to tax reform. The concept that gives Grover Norquist a shattering orgasm. Now, the president has been promising tax reform all year, which is usually taken to mean a comprehensive overhaul of the tax code, but it seems that in Trump's hands to have become much narrower.
At the very center of that plan is a giant, beautiful, massive the biggest ever in our country, tax cut.
OK, so to be clear, a tax cut is not just at the centre of his plan, it basically is his plan. It's like saying at the centre of this egg is an egg. Well, yes, of course, it's an egg. That's all it is. And while the plan is maddeningly light on detail, when the non-partisan Tax Policy Centre tried to create an estimate for what it might do, they found that by 2027, it could raise taxes on many middle-class families and that around 80% of the benefits would go to taxpayers in the top 1%. And just this morning, Trump's Treasury Secretary, Steven Mnuchin, also known as me, John Oliver, moments after waking up from a surgery to have my morals removed, well, he completely dismissed those concerns.
I don't know how the Tax Policy Center can publish those figures since they don't have all the details, including the brackets. People like the Tax Foundation and others have waited, which I think is responsible.
OK, so first, I'm just going to say this. I think he's handsome. You know, yes, not in a conventional way, but, you know, he's striking. There's some, I don't know. But the point is, it is hard to hear Mnuchin urge people to withhold judgment when this administration has been out aggressively selling this plan all week. Take Trump's chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn. The answer to the question, what if Daddy Warbucks never met Annie and just kept being an arsehole for the rest of his life? Well, he spoke to reporters and was happy to game out how a middle-class family could spend their hypothetical tax cut.
If we allow a family to keep another $1,000 of their income, what does that mean? They can renovate their kitchen. They can buy a new. They can buy a new car. They can take a family vacation. They can increase their lifestyle.
Hold on, $1,000 for a kitchen renovation? Or a new car? He's talking about $1,000 like a cartoon hobo from the 1920s. Oh, if I ever got that kind of money, yowzer, I'd buy myself a private island, I would. I'd eat caviar 3 times a day and my butler would be a trained SEAL. Man, with 1,000 smackaroos, I'd never have to worry about nothing, never again. And look, as for the president himself, he is still insisting that wealthy Americans, including himself, will not benefit.
Our framework includes our explicit commitment that tax reform will protect low-income and middle-income households, not the wealthy and well-connected. They can call me all they want. It's not going to help. I'm doing the right thing. And it's not good for me, believe me.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. And you know why? Just one element of the plan, the elimination of the estate tax, could, by one estimate, save Trump's family as much as $1 billion. So again, he's wrong. We just caught him in another lie. So you know what? This time I am definitely going to call it, we got him! We got him! That's fair. And now, this.
And now, Guy Fieri gives a surprisingly detailed tour of his favorite place on Earth.
Hey, I'm Guy Fieri, and you know what I need? I need you riding shotgun. I'm on my way to Flavortown.
That's a dusty road in Flavortown right there, buddy.
This is like a freight train to Flavortown, dude.
Ravioli train is coming to Flavortown.
That's Flavortown passport right there. It's like a $10 lift ticket in Flavortown.
You can find that dictionary at the Flavortown Library.
I'm mining for food in Flavortown River.
Those are culinary buoys in the shipyard of Flavortown.
This is a road cone in Flavortown.
That was like a manhole cover in Flavortown.
It's like the community pool at Flavortown. Punch bowl at the meat buffet palace at Flavortown. She just threw away the dental floss at Flavortown. This might be making a brick at the capital of Flavortown.
It's like the artillery center in Flavortown.
This is the first discovered culinary cave of Flavortown.
That is the nacho crown in the kingdom of Flavortown.
That's the definition of stupid in Flavortown. Stupid in a good way.
Moving on. Our main story tonight concerns crime. You know, that thing that was almost solved by a flasher dog in the 1980s. But specifically, this story is about how we increasingly solve crimes using forensic evidence. It's that thing that is just a staple of TV crime shows.
Bullet from the torso on the left, bullet from the boat on the right.
2 hearts beat as 1. It matches up perfectly.
That's a match.
We got a match.
And they just found us a match.
Visible match. We have a match.
Match.
Were you able to determine which monkey bit him?
The bite marks matched those of the monkey found at the scene.
Wow! That last one was presumably from one of the crossover episodes where the team from Law & Order worked a case with the cast of Monkey Law and Monkey Order. But on TV and in real life, forensic science plays an important role in criminal convictions. Prosecutors often complain about a so-called CSI effect, where jurors expect to see forensic evidence in every case. The problem is, not all forensic science is as reliable as we've become accustomed to believe. A report in 2009 by the National Academy of Sciences found that many forensic sciences do not meet the fundamental requirements of science. And a report last year by a Presidential Science Council agreed, saying that expert witnesses have often overstated the value of their evidence, going far beyond what the relevant science can justify. And that's the thing here. It's not that all forensic science is bad, because it's not. But too often, its reliability is dangerously overstated. And one sign of that is that forensic experts in court are often nudged to use one very convincing phrase.
To a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
To a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
To a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
Within a reasonable scientific certainty.
To a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
Are you able to say that within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes.
And here's the thing, that phrase does have a persuasive ring to it. Unfortunately, as that Presidential Council pointed out, it has no generally accepted meaning in science. It's one of those terms like basic or trill that has no commonly understood definition. Am I trill? Is that good or bad? I mean, I do feel trill, so I'm guessing it's awful. And when bad science is confidently presented, terrible convictions can happen. In fact, among the hundreds of people who've been exonerated by DNA testing since 1989, in nearly half of their cases, there was some misapplication of forensic science. And there are people behind those numbers. Take Sante Tribble, who was convicted of murder and served 26 years, in large part thanks to an FBI analyst who testified that his hair matched hairs found at the scene. And as he will tell you, the evidence was presented as being rock solid.
They said it matched my hair and all microscopical characteristics. And that's the way they presented it to the jury, and the jury took it for granted that that was my hair.
But you know, I can see why they did, because who other than an FBI expert would possibly know that much about hair? Except, of course, for whoever styled Amanda Seyfried at the 2009 Oscars. Breathtaking waves without losing any of their body or bounce. Stunning. 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 The jurors in Tribble's case were actually told there was one chance in 10 million that it could be someone else's hair. And guess what? He was exonerated. Because once DNA analysis became available, his lawyer tested the 13 hairs from the case. And not only were none of them his, some of what they found was incredible.
9 of the hairs had come from the same source, a couple had come from different sources, and 1 was a dog.
2 different FBI agents who had looked at that and analyzed it didn't recognize that it was dog hair?
It was a canine. It was a domestic dog, yes.
My personal conclusion was the dog committed the crime.
OK, so first, it is amazing that he is able to laugh at that. But second, if a dog did commit the crime, there's really no recourse there, because there is actually no law against dogs committing murder. And that's a fact that I learned in Air Bud 9, Fuck the Police. And it turns out, Tribble is not the only case where FBI experts overstated their confidence in their results.
The Innocence Project and the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers found from the 1970s through 1999, in 268 cases where FBI hair analysis led to a conviction, 257, or 96% of them, had errors in analysis.
Oh, it gets worse, because 9 of those defendants had already been executed, which is horrifying. And you would expect FBI hair analysis to have a higher rate of accuracy than your friend's hair analysis of you can totally pull off bangs, because you can't, you absolutely can't. Believe me, I couldn't. Just learn from my mistakes, kids. Save yourselves. It's too late for me. And look, it's by no means just microscopic hair comparison which has had the reliability of its results overstated. Those reports that I showed earlier suggest there is weak scientific support for some aspects of techniques like blood pattern, footwear, firearm, and bite mark analysis. And you must be familiar with that last one from cool scenes like this.
a little 3D magic for clarity, and I give you the killer's incisors.
Oh no! The computer rated it yellow rectangle. And we all know yellow rectangle is the highest level of match a computer can give you about teeth. But look, in the real world, bite mark analysis is highly subjective and unreliable. The President's Council found the entire discipline does not meet the scientific standards for foundational validity, which I believe is science speak for bullshit. But people have been sent to prison on the basis of bite mark testimony by experts like Dr. Michael West.
The science of bite marks analysis is very accurate.
When it comes to bite marks, West considers himself the maestro. He's found bite marks on a decomposed body submerged in a swamp, on a corpse that had been buried for more than a year. He's even used a bite mark taken out of a bologna sandwich to get a conviction.
Now, that sounds impressive, matching a killer's teeth to a bite mark in a bologna sandwich, although you should know that the defendant in that case got a new trial after an autopsy report found that the murder victim had actually eaten a small amount of bologna consistent with the amounts bitten off the sandwich. So that sandwich was irrelevant to the case. In fact, you could even argue that it was actually Dr. West who was full of, say it with me, shit. And that is not the only issue that has arisen from his testimony. There are now 5 cases where he testified for the prosecution and where the charges were dropped or the conviction was later overturned. And even West himself has admitted that he no longer believes in bite mark analysis for identifying perpetrators, and he doesn't think it should be used in court. And yet, incredibly, every time a defendant has challenged its validity, the court has ruled it admissible. And a key reason for that is that judges often rely on precedent to decide what to allow in front of a jury. So if a particular discipline has been in court before, it is likely that a judge will admit it again. All of which means that, as the co-founder of the Innocence Project points out, decisions about the validity of science are being made by people who don't necessarily know much about it.
Historically, we had a situation where 2 scientifically illiterate lawyers argued the bona fides of scientific evidence before a scientifically illiterate judge, so that 12 scientifically illiterate jurors could decide the weight of that evidence.
And if you think about it, that's absolutely terrifying. Trials can often be a situation where no one really knows what they're doing. It's like a cooking competition for toddlers, hosted by a stray cat and judged by goats. Oh, the tuna was undercooked and covered in cold spaghetti sauce. You then, for some reason, covered the whole dish in Honey Nut Cheerios. I loved it. And look, none of this is to say that there is not reliable forensic science out there. Fingerprints and DNA are obvious examples. But while we think of them as perfect, it is important to know they are by no means infallible. The FBI has found fingerprint analysis could have a false positive rate as high as 1 error in 306 cases. And a dramatic example of this came after the Madrid train bombings in 2004, when the FBI arrested this Oregon man, Brandon Mayfield. He had never even been to Spain in his life, but 3 separate examiners matched his fingerprints to one on a bag of detonators. So he was, at that point, completely fucked, until investigators happened to determine that that fingerprint actually also matched someone else who was in Spain at the time, and that blew the minds of fingerprint experts.
We always assume that fingerprints are very, very unique. But what the Mayfield case demonstrates is that parts of a fingerprint can be so similar it's possible for 2 people to be identified to one latent print.
That's true. It turns out that 2 people can have fingerprints that are so close that even experts can't tell them apart, meaning that we are now this close to finally proving my theory that there is only one Olsen twin. She's just moving very fast, back and forth. She confuses your eye. Now, I don't know how this new information helps me yet, but when it does, the end is nigh, you fraud! You fraud! And then there is DNA, which is the gold standard in forensic science for a reason, because in perfect conditions, it's seen as the most reliable form of evidence. But not all DNA tests are equal, and crime scenes can produce DNA of widely varying quality.
DNA is very fragile and easily mixed up at a messy scene.
So you imagine you come across a crime scene, you may have a pool of blood, but it may not just be one person's blood, right? The more contributors to that mixture of DNA, the more difficult it is to determine whose DNA it was, whose blood it was.
Exactly. It can be difficult to tell whose blood is whose in a large pool of blood, which is, coincidentally, the premise of my new game show, So You Think You Can Tell Whose Blood Is Whose in a Large Pool of Blood. It premieres on Tuesday night, and apparently it's already been cancelled. But the problem here is lower quality DNA samples are sometimes presented to juries as if they are highly reliable. In 2003, a prosecutor in a double murder told the jury that the odds the defendant's DNA matched the glove found at the scene by chance was 1 in 1.1 billion. So that's pretty strikingly impressive. But it turned out the glove actually contained at least 3 people's DNA, and a later analysis put the odds closer to 1 in 2. And you know what? That's close enough, isn't it? People do confuse the numbers 1.1 billion and 2 all the time. That's why I'm always mistakenly saying that my favourite R&B group is Boys 1.1 Billion Men. And on top of all of this, there is one more factor that can be impossible to detect, and it concerns the relationship between law enforcement and the forensic labs themselves. Because you would hope that those labs would work independently, taking in evidence and spitting out results. But many labs work closely with law enforcement, knowing details of the case that they are working on, which can prejudice their work even subconsciously.
Sometimes it's not intentional fraud, but rather something much more inadvertent, which is the kind of bias that can come from feeling like you're part of a side, part of a team, that you're attached to the prosecution, and you want to get the bad guy.
Yeah, but that's not their job. At all. They are supposed to be neutral. If a referee started participating in a team's end zone celebration, you'd have some serious fucking questions, like, why have you picked a side and how long have you been practicing the dirty bird? So clearly here, a lot needs to be fixed, and some states have stepped up. One has done a lot, including passing a first-of-its-kind junk science law, which enables convicts to request a new trial if the science used to convict them was flawed. And that sounds great. And the pioneering state that did that, by the way, was Texas. Yes, I know, Texas. You don't expect Texas to lead the nation in science-related criminal justice reform. You expect them to lead the nation in remembering the Alamo or naming their children football. I love your football, but if you ever forget the Alamo, we are done. Now, sadly, at the federal level, progress has been slower, although one group, the National Commission on Forensic Science, has tried to fix that. They were founded to advise the DOJ on how to address many of the problems that you have seen tonight. And their most recent meeting featured powerful remarks from Keith Harwood, who spent 33 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit, based on faulty bite mark evidence.
Some would say, well, you're a free man. Well, I will never be free of this. There's no possibility, excuse me if I get emotional, that I spent more than half my life in prison behind the opinions and the expert egos of 2 odontologists. There's a death penalty case in Pennsylvania that's going on now, and the judge is going to allow bite mark evidence. How many people have to be wrongly convicted before they realize that this stuff's all bogus? It's all made up.
That's a good question. And it's also the kind of speech that could really inspire that commission to do a lot of good work. Unfortunately, that was actually their final meeting because the commission was shut down in April by Attorney General and xenophobic boss baby Jeff Sessions. And you know what? That shouldn't really surprise you anyway. Sessions is a former prosecutor, and he does seem like the kind of guy who watched Dead Man Walking and was like, hurry up! Let's kill the guy already! This movie should be called Dead Man Dilly-Dallying. Let's go, people, let's go! So we may honestly be actively going backwards on this issue, which is dangerous, because not only are innocent people getting convicted, guilty criminals are being left on the streets as a result. And if this administration does not see this as a problem, then we should at the very least do more to educate potential jurors about some of the shortcomings in our system. And one small way to do that might be this.
In this city, when the heat rises, so does the murder rate.
All right, everybody, let's get this stuff back to the lab.
Hey, Chief, no need. Look what I found. Bite mark. bologna sandwich. Now that's what I call dead meat.
Oh, the fuck is wrong with you?
Dead meat? This is a murder. That's a human person.
That is his wife over there.
You're a fucking asshole.
He's a crime solver who doesn't like to play by the rules.
I'm getting something on these bite marks here, but it's far from conclusive.
Would you say there's a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
No. That's meaningless.
Right.
And that's a problem for absolutely everyone around him.
Chief, the hair matches the victim's wife. Case closed.
Slow down. Microscopic hair comparison is bullshit science.
Chief, I ran a mitochondrial DNA test on those hairs.
Your wife did it, right? Case closed.
Actually, there were 5 hairs. 3 were from a coconut.
And 2 were from the wife.
1 was from a Cabbage Patch Kid, and the remaining 1 was from
the wife.
This golden retriever.
So there's our killer right there, Chief.
The victim was shot. How can a dog fire a gun?
That's a bad dog right there. And he's about to face some roof justice.
We're indoors. Fuck you.
And he won't stop asking the hard questions.
About a certainly reasonable science degree, etude?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Because he's passionate about his job, despite not fully understanding what that job is.
If we don't have something solid by tomorrow, DA's gonna have my ass.
Why would the DA have your ass? We don't work for the DA.
What?
We don't work for the DA.
You do understand that, right?
Please tell us you understand that.
Well, yeah. I understand that, totally.
Oh, there's no way he understands that. Because this guy will not quit.
How about a certainly reasonable...
Stop talking.
Okay. Keep up the good work.
Okay.
And even when his team abandons him, he's not afraid to call for backup.
This better be good.
Oh, it is. I brought in some extra help. Expert witnesses to help lock in this case. Take a look. We got a forensic dentist, twin boy detectives, an old-timey prospector with a divining rod, a sack full of magic 8-balls, and the county's foremost crime-sniffing pony.
None of this is admissible in court.
Actually, 3 of them have testified in court before, and they all got convictions.
Is that the baloney evidence?
Oh, my God!
CSI, Crime Scene Idiot.
So, before we go tonight, if you want or if you are able to help relief efforts in Puerto Rico, you can give here. That is our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night. Cheers.